So we finally have some news with Conor McGregor. We were wondering, is this man ever going to come back? Will he ever fight again? Well, it seems like he turned his papers and he, as of today, I believe, officially is in the USADA pool. He's going to be tested again, and now that he's in the pool, he will not be able to compete until 6 months from now, which will land us somewhere around April of 2024, which also perfectly lines up with probably the UFC 300 card, the big card. That will be the 300th card of the UFC. So you could easily see him with that card. Now, what we can also assume is that his next opponent, as it was advertised a year ago, almost a year ago, should be Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler is still waiting, still believing. Now he's sending some tweets, big news coming up this weekend, what else, what not. This week, that's what he said. But probably soon we will get some more news regarding that bout. Will it finally happen? I think it will happen. We just a question of time now. Now that Conor finally entered the USADA pool, now we can ask other questions. Like, for example, Michael Chandler. So we already know Michael Chandler was previously a Bellator champion. He had a really good career, and he entered the UFC pretty much at around age 34, I guess, at a later age. And we learned over time about Michael Chandler that he entered the UFC to make money, right? So he wants to make enough money to live the rest of his life, retire, and enjoy. He made a lot of money already. He's already a rich guy, but he's not that kind of level of rich where he doesn't have to do it anymore. I think he wants to gain that status. Obviously, he had a chance to be the champion. He lost that chance versus Charles Oliveira. First, he beat Dan Hooker, quick retrospective. He got the belt, he got the championship fight versus Oliveira, and he lost there. It was a close fight. He was really good. It wasn't like, it was a total performance. He actually almost beat him in the first round. He was very close, very, very close to being a champion. If anybody was ever close in the lightweight division, that could easily be, we could easily all agree that was Michael Chandler. He was the closest to the belt out of all the guys. Aside from, of course, Makhachev and Oliveira in the current roster, in the current top 10. So then after that, he had fights, entertaining fights versus Gaethje, versus Dustin Poirier, and Tony Ferguson was his only win, aside from Dan Hooker, pretty much. So I think him at his day and age and his career, he just wants money fights. He doesn't give a damn about the belt. He realizes that the competition is much tougher than in Bellator. He realized that early on. He's like, you know what, I know, of course, winning the belt is one way of making money, but you can also make money. There's other ways of making money, and he realized that too. So when the opportunity arises for him to, coach versus versus Conor McGregor at the Ultimate Fighter and potentially booking a fight, he saw that path. Like, okay, no matter what, this is it. I'm going to do this fight. That might be even his last fight as well. That's enough money for him. That fight is enough for him to make a lot of money. And you can tell by the way he's patient. He was patient throughout this whole process. He was like, okay, I'll wait no matter how long it takes. He says that he keeps repeating that. I will wait and I will get this fight. And that appears to be true. Yeah, his patience is paying off. He could have easily booked the fight with somebody else a long time ago. And who knows what would have happened there. Maybe he would have lost that opportunity forever to fight Conor. And he knows that. He knows that any fight, no matter how easy it is, if he wins it again or loses, that might eliminate his chance of fighting Conor. So he's holding on to that, and he's praying for that, and it seems like it's heading in that direction, that early next year, he will be fighting him. So great for him. And he even said, like, if I'm not fighting Conor, or after Conor, I'm open to fight like Nate Diaz. Another big card, big ticket show with Nate Diaz, one of the most popular guys that would bring him back to the game, and pretty sure Nate Diaz would entertain that idea as well. So you can see his intentions. His intentions are not like, hey, we're going to make a pact where I'm going to go back for a title fight. He doesn't give one damn about that title. He's like, okay, you guys can compete. I don't care about Islam anymore or whatever. Charles Oliveira rematch. Nah, none of that. Now, what are Conor's intentions? What did we learn? So we already know. What we know from history is that Conor was a champ, right? He reached the pinnacle, right? He knows exactly what it's like. He used to be a champion. He fought in multiple divisions. He knows exactly the feeling, and that rose him to what he is today, right? And not only that, he fought in boxing versus Mayweather, got over $100 million just from that fight alone, I mean, he's richer than the entire roster probably altogether, the UFC roster, right? He's almost as rich as Dana White probably at this point. So money is not a thing. He's not coming back for the money, although money can be very addictive, and people who have money try to, want to make more money. That's just a thing. But I don't think him coming back to the UFC is a money move. He's not going to make... How much more money can he really make? I mean, sure, he's going to make a lot of money, but I don't think that's the main goal for him. That's not why he's coming back to fight. He doesn't need to. Everybody said, like, he's got it all. He knows how it is to be a champion. He knows how it is to be a double champion. He knows how it is to freaking have almost $1 billion freaking dollars, right? So that can't really be it. Now, I do know from my personal experience in my life, I interviews with other people, successful people, musicians to be exact, they come back. You also wonder those bands that have been around for like 30, 40 years, man, they already like secured 5, 6 generations of their family. Like they will all live just fine. They don't need to work a day in their life, but they still come back to do it, and they say they love it. Yes, they love doing it. Conor loves fighting. That's his passion. Sure, I'll buy that. They love their music. But there's also one more important thing that people do forget. For the musicians, it's when they go on stage and they play live and they got 40, 50,000 people cheering at them. That's priceless. You cannot buy that. You can buy a lot of things, but you cannot buy that. That attendance, that cheer, the people, seeing people's faces, people chanting your name, that level of, that kind of emotion that cannot be replicated, right? That's something very special. That becomes a drug. I can see that happening. People who, go through that. Not a lot of people get 40, 50,000 people in their lifetime cheering for them, right? At a moment in time in their lives, that becomes a drug, especially if they experience it multiple times throughout the years, of touring, doing concerts, performing, fighting in arenas, cages. That is something very, very special. And I can see that being maybe the number one reason. It's the power. It's the addiction to being loved. It's that whole thing that drives Conor. He wants to be known. That's why he tweets, right? His tweet gets more impressions than somebody that wins that fight night or that pay-per-view. He comes in and says, you know what, I would knock his head out. He gets more impressions than anybody. And he loves it. He thrives on that. That's his fuel. That's his goal. That's his drug, right? That's the biggest drug. That's something that you can't easily just buy. That comes with that. It comes with the stage, the big stage, which is the UFC, which is him competing. And no, he doesn't necessarily, he also realized he doesn't really, I don't think he truly himself believes that he can beat Islam Makhachev and gain the lightweight belt at this time and age. No, I don't think he believes that. Maybe a part of him does. He's a damn good fighter. But did he really evolve to these standards? And how good he really is after that injury? It's a horrific injury. We saw Chris Weidman come back, not the same, right? Not just because of the injury, but because of age. But, it's really, really tough to come back from such an injury. Anderson Silva never truly came back. Now, I think Conor deep down also thinks that, I'll probably never be a champion again, even though he will never admit that. But you can also just don't believe me. Look at the interview he had at the Anthony Joshua fight where he was promoting his new beer. He said that my plan is to fight. Doesn't matter the timeline. Back then he was saying December. Obviously December is not going to happen. But his plan was to fight Michael Chandler, do a trilogy with Nate Diaz, and fight for the BMF belt versus Justin Gaethje. So you see where his mind is going. He wants big, entertaining fights. But he has a goal to fight for the BMF belt. He didn't say the real belt. He said the BMF belt. So you see where that's going. He wants to be a bad motherfucker. He wants to be famous again. He is still famous. Obviously, he wants to just be loved. He wants to have big fights. He wants that thrill. That's what he's missing, I think. On the other hand, he has an opponent in Michael Chandler, who is willing to fight him at any weight, right? Because it doesn't matter. Whoever wins this fight will not bring them in any conversation for a title contention at any division. So it really doesn't matter if they fight at lightweight, if they fight at welterweight, or middleweight even. Who cares? It's not like they're going to be fighting for the title in any of those divisions. So it might as well fight in an upper division where they don't have to lose as much weight. Why would you fucking drain so many pounds when it doesn't matter, right? So most likely they will be fighting in welterweight. Middleweight is a little too weird, but okay, we're just gonna have like two little balloons fighting in the middleweight. But welterweight, sure, I'll buy that, right? I'll buy that fight. They were fighting at welterweight, and that's it. They're just fighting for the fight. We're just fighting for the fight, and we'll all buy that pay-per-view. We'll see it, but that match truly doesn't change anything as far as competition and competing in the organization in any of those divisions. It doesn't. It really doesn't. Like Chandler said, I'll fight Nate Diaz. This guy wants to fight Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is not even an active fighter in the UFC roster. That speaks alone. That answers your question alone for this fight. But yeah, my prediction is that this will probably happen on a big card like UFC 300. Makes perfect sense. It's going to be a main event. And a main event that has no no consequence on the title or the title contention. Funny enough, but yeah, you get those once in a while, and this could definitely be a good exception. So let me know what you guys think. What do you what are your comments on him getting back to the USADA pool? I know a lot of people commented this will never happen, so I guess you were wrong. It will happen. We got that answer at least, that he wants to compete again. So we got that answer, and yeah, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Not two, just one. One is enough. And subscribe to Octacage MMA. I'll see you guys next time.